Good evening and welcome to another live stream as Bitcoin trades down over the last few days, despite some bullish macro headlines, which we're going to cover tonight. Bitcoin is down at $107,500, and you'd think the world had lost its head. Bitcoin is still trading above 100k, the longest period at this level in history, and people are super bearish, which to me just makes me more bullish. And we're going to dive into why tonight. We're going to dive into the charts, and we're going to talk a bit about macro, what's going on in the US, and why we are setting ourselves up for a very bullish period in the next 90 days. We'll talk about BloFin, we'll talk about Alvara, and of course rate cuts and everything in between. We'll also talk about this dreaded, or whatever you want to call it, about the alt season. Everybody keeps claiming that there is going to be no alt season and money won't flow. Whales hold all the Bitcoin, they're not going to rotate down the risk curve. I obviously have said for a while that that is complete nonsense, and I'll show you why tonight. We've actually got the first kind of news story which highlights why businesses are going to chase risk just like every other retail investor. But let's start with Bitcoin. We put in a new all-time high, 112k, back 22nd of May. Since then, we've kind of retraced, we've bounced back up, and we have now just retraced a little bit over the last couple of days since the news of this Iran-Israel conflict. Do what you want with that news. For me, it's just noise. It feels like whenever they need to shift distractions or they need to do something, Iran just comes out of nowhere, and it's always Iran that seems to take the flak. So for me, I wouldn't get too worried about it. I think for now, it's a short-term thing. I think it's going to blow over really quickly, and I think we'll all have forgot about it by 2 weeks from now. I don't think it's going to become some massive big deal like Ukraine or anything else. But what do I know about wars? All I do know is Bitcoin doesn't care. Bitcoin literally does not care. And I said this about tariffs, said this about Trump and Elon, and I'm going to say it again. Bitcoin will, if anything, be stronger because of all this noise. We just need to get through the chop. And all the chop really is smart money dumping price to try and shake people out and then buy up a lot of crypto, a lot of altcoins, a lot of Bitcoin that they can then trade on OTC desks. Because OTC desks have record low amounts of Bitcoin, and when people like MicroStrategy come in, how are they going to buy it if it doesn't exist? They need to crash the price, get a decent average buy, and then they go through these OTC deals. That's all that's happening, in my opinion. So right now, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, if we do see slightly lower prices. I've seen a few people calling for like 96k. I think that's a bit overhyped. I think for me, if we broke below 103, that wouldn't be ideal. But I think if we held that kind of level here, which was a breakout of this pennant formation. So let me draw it on. So we had this kind of triangle here that we broke out of after a few days of chop. I think that level there, around 102.6 to 103,000, makes the most sense if we do drop lower. But right now, everything seems bullish. We've got institutions buying Bitcoin. Trump spoke today about how the announcement about the strategic Bitcoin reserves just the start. You've got Circle. Let me see if I've got the Circle chart on here. I think I've got it. So Circle, for anyone that doesn't know, IPO'd, went public last week, currently up 64%, but I think from their actual pre-IPO price, they were up 400% at one point. And this is basically just sending a signal to the market that the public markets love crypto, stablecoins in particular. And we had Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, today saying that he thinks stablecoins are going to be a $2 trillion business in the next couple of years, which is bullish for the US because that's how they're going to offload a lot of their debt. So for me, Bitcoin short term might chop around, might drop lower, 103k, maybe downside, maybe lower, but I'm not buying the 96, 97k. Worst case scenario, maybe 99.5, which would be target one of this breakout. But I can't see it. But that might change if the world descends into war over the next few days. We've also got some really bullish moves for Ethereum. So Ethereum broke out of this parallel channel, which we've been tracking for a while. Traded in here for best part of a month. Yeah, 30 days. Finally broke out. Just back testing that area as support. And I do think next week's going to be a massive week with FOMC meeting. Evening everyone, good to see so many people in the chat. We will definitely get to Don's alt season very soon. This week we got very bullish news, in my opinion, for rate cuts, liquidity, whatever you want to call it. CPI inflation in the US came in less than expected. PPI came in less than expected, and that kind of paves the way for the Fed to really look into rate cuts. If we look at the chances of rate cuts, June, we're now at 96.9%. That was literally 100% yesterday. So it seems that maybe the market is starting to factor in the fact that, you know, the economy is slowing, inflation's now down to a pretty much target. And actually, if you exclude shelter from the inflation number, inflation's less than 1.5%, it's sitting at like 1.3%. So the rates are actually the inflation, because shelter only goes up in price because of inflation and because of rate hikes. So, yeah, I think the Fed's going to be put in a tricky corner. I saw that Donald Trump's been quoted today saying that Jerome Powell's basically holding the US economy hostage. We do have another meeting in July. Right now, 77% chance in no rate cut then. But by September, we're starting to see that the majority of the market's now factoring in that there's going to be a rate cut by September at the latest. I think by now, I don't think we're going to see a rate cut next week unless this dramatically changes over the next 24 hours. If we get a leak somewhere or we get some statement by a Fed speaker, but I can't see it. Trump said he'll take matters into his own hands if we don't get rate cuts very soon. So it's something to watch, but surprise rate cuts don't really happen. Surprises to the market and as a whole don't really happen because it just causes too much chaos. That's why you get these hints and these leaks. Markets don't like to be surprised. July, I think this is probably one to watch. I think the fact that there's no meeting in August means that do they want to go away and leave it 60 days when the economy is slowing so fast? We saw unemployment tick up. Inflation's now down at their target. I think July would make sense, and we'll get an indication of that next week anyway in their press conference and their dot plot. And I think that'll be really bullish for altcoins and the wider crypto market. I think we've already saw Bitcoin absolutely rally because of global liquidity. I think the next stage is once we get those rate cuts and that easier money, that cheaper money, that's when we see the breadth open up, and that's what happens in the traditional stock market, and it's going to happen in the crypto market as well. So yeah, all eyes on the Fed next week. Looking at XRP, we've been rejected from the 200-day MA. To be honest, the 200-day MA's acted as support a couple of times, resistance a couple of times. I'm not necessarily sure how big an impact it actually has on XRP. On Bitcoin, it's definitely a great indicator, but we never even got up to it. I'm not sure if that's really what's playing out. Right now, everything seems to be going XRP and Ripple's way. Today, USDC announced that they now are going to trade on the XRP ledger as well. I think Circle IPOing is really bullish for Ripple because they obviously want to IPO, and the markets obviously welcomed Circle. So we then also have the Genius Act going through Congress, the Senate right now, and that's going to approve stablecoins, which obviously RLUSD would benefit massively from that. So I think everything's going in its favour. No mention of the court case, but I think it's just a waiting game now for price action. I think once we do get above this kind of 260 level and about here, I think that'll be the trigger for a new all-time high. And I think we will see waves of capital flow into XRP just because I think everybody wants to. I think they just need this court case to go away, maybe an ETF to get approved, and I think that would light the dynamite underneath the price chart. If we look at Solana, Solana's kind of fell off a little bit since making this all-time high. Solana really done amazing during the memecoin mania. There's chat that seems to be returning, that there is some meme coins popping up. I think Solana's biggest problem is that everybody on the Solana chain, every token, every founder, every project, it's just a big trading game. It's just a big who can dump on who. I think Solana needs to fix that, and I actually think the best solution for Solana would be if they actually had some decent projects launch that weren't meme coins. I think if it does go with meme coin mania again, it's just going to have this massive rally and dump again, because the Solana chain is very heavy with degens and people just try to make a quick buck. So I think be interested to see what happens with Solana over the coming weeks. Normally a front runner in the market, just kind of idling by right now, like every altcoin pretty much. Total 2 here, you can see still just consolidating, accumulation, whatever you want to call it. Once we get the breakout though, I do think all-time highs for Total 2, Total 3 and the others chart will come really quickly, because that flow of capital is going to be huge. And I say this all the time, and I don't think people believe me, but once the Fed relaxes, everything will be timed. So when the Fed starts relaxing rates, QE starts, we'll get ETF news, you'll get institutions adopting crypto, you'll get everything will be timed, and it'll absolutely fly. But it'll be very quick. And we've said this before, bull markets are over in the blink of an eye. You need to be very quick. But I do think this time we'll see all this kind of positive news timed, and it'll coincide with liquidity, because there's no point launching all these products, all this new regulation, if people are still stuck on the sidelines because liquidity is not on, or the rates are still high and people don't have money to invest. There's no point. So everything is going to be timed, and it's funny to watch the dollar putting in its new low since March 2022 this week as well. That just sums up exactly what's going on right now. We are seeing a massive run on the dollar. Gold's up, dollar down. Everybody knows this liquidity is coming. They're just waiting for it to actually arrive before they take action. So that's why I'm super bullish on what happens when the liquidity tap turns on and regulations approved, because right now there's over 7 trillion sitting in money market funds just earning interest because of the Fed funds rate. If they start dropping that, that money's going to chase returns somewhere else, and there's no better place than crypto to make returns. And given that Wall Street's turning so bullish on crypto, I think we could see a big chunk of that money come in. And when you figure in that the total market cap right now is 3.3 trillion, even 1 trillion of that coming in is going to do some amazing things for altcoins and crypto. Now, something I wanted to bring up, because a lot of people always say to me, institutions are buying Bitcoin. A lot of institutions have bought Bitcoin through ETFs. got BlackRock, you've got MicroStrategy, you've got 21, you've got all MetaPlanet, all these companies buying Bitcoin for their balance sheet. They're not going to sell and then chase risk like what normally happens in a bull run. So normally in a bull run, Bitcoin runs, everybody gets rich off Bitcoin, and then they try and do it again. So then they go, right, Ethereum's still down, I'll rotate my profits into Ethereum. Ethereum runs, and they keep doing it and keep doing it. And eventually, people get wrecked because they keep chasing risk. But that's what causes the alt season. Because 10 grand in Bitcoin in the bear market is now worth 100 grand. You invest that 100 grand in Ethereum, you try and turn it into 500 grand, blah, blah, blah. Everybody understands it. Now, everybody keeps saying the problem this time is institutions own Bitcoin, so they're not going to do it. Well, just today, we saw that this company, Tony G Co-Investment Holdings, is buying hype to put on its balance sheet. Now, it's a tiny amount. It's 10,000 hyper liquid tokens. I don't even know what that is in price. What's that? $438,000. So it's not like life-changing money. But it is for altcoins. Because the market cap... In fact, let's find out what the market cap is. I wonder if I can do it in here. Can't be right. Is it? But 500k into a coin that isn't Bitcoin, isn't Ethereum, yeah, it's got a $14 billion market cap. So tiny compared to Bitcoin. So 500k might not seem a lot, but all it does is tell you that companies are going to start chasing risk. Because if you're a company and you finally come round to realizing that crypto is staying, it's not a bubble, it's not hype, it's not a scam, it's not a Ponzi. So you're a company and you want to invest in crypto. You look at Bitcoin and you think, well, MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet, 21, BlackRock, all these big whales have already scooped up so much supply. All you do is look at, right, what's next? What's going to give me 5x instead of 2x? And everyone's going to do it. So I think, I don't really care about this news story, don't really pay too much attention to it. But what it does tell you is that companies will chase that risk. Institutions will chase that risk. Pension funds, banks, anyone that's into crypto will have some exposure to the wider crypto market. And 500k into a $14 billion market cap coin might seem like nothing, but 500k is still a lot of investment on a token that, 6 months ago, hadn't even heard of it, wasn't even trading. It's a brand new token. So it's quite a big move, and it just signals to the market what is coming once ETFs are approved and once all altcoins are classed as commodities, not securities, which I believe is coming probably in the next 90 days. Let's check in on gold. Gold is having quite a nice day, obviously bullish on war. Gold loves a bit of Middle East conflict, but not breached the all-time high. It'll be interesting to see if it can actually make a new all-time high. It looks like it's in some kind of consolidation, accumulation phase. Typically when gold pumps, Bitcoin kind of cools off. We're seeing that, so it kind of makes sense. But I do think it'll be short-lived because, like I say at the start, I'm not sure how much this Israel or Iran thing's going to play into the markets. But gold doing well today. I think we'll see gold at $4,000 in 2025. Wouldn't surprise me. I think the money printing that's coming is going to be huge. Silver started to move as well, which we've been saying for, well, May 24. Yeah, down here, May 24, it's up 38%. So, but I can't remember when we started posting about it, ages ago. And silver's been doing very well, but I think this is just the start. if you look at, let me look at the monthly. If you look at this on the monthly, if we close above 35, it'll be the highest monthly close since August 2011. But on top of that, there's not huge amounts of resistance until 41, and then from 41 you're talking 48, and then we are in price discovery. So some huge moves by silver. Gold obviously led the charge over the last year. Silver's starting to catch up. I think silver also has a massive role to play because it's actual utility, not just a store of value. But yeah, for me, I think we'll see all-time highs in silver within the next 12 months, easy, if not by the end of this year. All right, let's talk about Alvara. So we get questions all the time about Alvara. Alvara's taken a bit longer than we expected to launch the mainnet. So anyone that doesn't know, anyone that's not holding Alvara, Alvara allows anyone to create a basket of tokens that then any other investor can go and follow along with that portfolio. So just to be totally simple, if I wanted to create a basket of tokens, go on and pick 3 or 4 tokens, and then anyone can follow along with that portfolio. I earn a percentage of the profit of that everybody following me, and Alvara, the token, gets burned and bought every single time somebody mints a basket. So it's cool. It's a new token standard. It's one of the things that I think crypto needs to do more of, is actually have stuff that people are interested in. I think there will be a lot of interest in Alvara. They've already got quite a few partnerships lined up. They've actually got a hedge fund that's going to use Alvara to create baskets for their clients. For me, I'm really bullish on Alvara. Always have been since the day we've done the seed round. Mainnet should be coming in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, I think there will be huge interest. And the reason for that is anyone can create a basket, and everyone in crypto thinks they're an expert. So you pair those two things, then if I'm a KOL, I've got a community, or I'm an influencer and I'm on Twitter with a big following, why would I not show how much knowledge I have and create a basket and show how good I am at picking altcoins? And then their audience can follow along. You get a revenue share. You also hopefully hold Alvara, so that does well. But the other thing is, everyone else will then create their own baskets because they want to either show off that they know what they're talking about. I just think it's a great flywheel. It's an amazing hook. Everyone will make a basket, which causes huge buy demand on the token. And yeah, I'm super bullish for the token Alvara. I want to use the platform. I'm looking forward to it launching. And yeah, I think $1 for the Alvara token is definitely realistic. And like I said, it's something that actually people want, rather than just more crypto chains and tokens that promise the world but never deliver. I'm sure it's 5% per month, Shiv. So whenever that's up, it's definitely a percentage. It's not just... Yeah, I'm sure it's 5% every single month. Let's have a look at Opulus. Let me zoom in a bit. So Opulus on the day looks like we might get some kind of bottom. Might move up from here. Put in this double bottom here. Higher low again. I mean, not great higher low, but it's better than nothing. Opulus, LimeWire, MV, Inspect, Borg, Flame, literally go through the list. Arbitrum, all these tokens are suffering the exact same fate. There's not enough liquidity in the market, and all the liquidity has been sucked up by the main player, Bitcoin, and a little bit of Ethereum, a little bit of XRP, but majority in Bitcoin. If you look at the others chart, so the others chart is the market cap of the entire crypto market, excluding the top 10 coins. It's 250 billion. Like, it's tiny in comparison. Less than 10% of the overall market cap of crypto. But that 10% is 20,000 tokens, or whatever it is. 500,000 tokens probably by now. But my point is that there's so little capital in the low altcoins right now that we just need that liquidity in the market. And you can see signs that it's coming. You know, the ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs just hit a record. Ethereum ETFs are seeing massive inflows. There's chat that the Solana ETF's just a couple of weeks away from being approved, and we're seeing massive inflows to Solana staking. So you are seeing signs that the liquidity's coming. It just takes time. Obviously, this cycle has been way more drawn out than anyone could have predicted and anyone's seen before. But I do firmly believe that it's going to set us up for epic rallies in the back half of this year. Probably sooner rather than later. And like I've said on multiple streams, I'm still not convinced what happens after we get, you know, that kind of crazy period. Does it correct and then go again like 2021, or is that it over? And I guess it will be hard to tell until we're in that period. But for now, I would just sit on your hands, dollar cost average, if that is what you want to do. But just sit on your hands, because I think right now we're just seeing that suck of liquidity. And we saw it in the stock market, if you think about it. If you look at, not sure I can show it in here, but if we look at the S&P 500, for example, the S&P 500, if you take out the Mag 7, the S&P 500's down massively over the last 12 months. But because of the Mag 7, they've carried it. And it's the same with crypto. Like, Bitcoin is carrying crypto right now. The Bitcoin market cap alone is currently 2.14 trillion. So it's 2/3 of the entire market just in Bitcoin right now. So until that breadth opens up, don't expect huge gains from any coin outside the top 10 specifically. And I've been saying for a while that I think I'm not saying this time is different. Ethereum controls the altcoin market. Ethereum will control alt season. But there is a bit more diversity this time in that Ethereum, Solana, maybe even XRP, if you include that in that. I think it's Ethereum, XRP and Solana that's going to control the alt season, because there's a lot of wealth that will be untapped when Solana goes to all-time high, when XRP goes to $5 to $7. That's going to unleash massive amounts of money on the market, and the people holding those coins are probably a bit more risk tolerant than a Bitcoin holder, so then they'll chase risk. I know for a fact, like, if XRP smashed to $7 in the next 2 weeks and Opulus was still down around 5 or 6 cents, I would definitely be rotating profits in it. You extrapolate that by the millions of people that hold XRP, Ethereum, Solana, they'll all do the same, and that's what will cause the alt season. And everybody keeps saying it's not going to happen, but yeah, I don't know what to tell you. We've been right on pretty much every other thing, so you just need to be patient, and it will come. In terms of Syscoin, I had a look at that the other day. I think it's been delisted from a few places, but I'm not quite sure. Again, very similar. Putting this low back, this was the tariff noise. So putting this low, it looks like it's putting a higher low. What you'd like to see next is a higher high, maybe up here around this kind of peak from, when was that, back in February. Yeah, get back up to that higher low, and then you will get some explosive moves in coins like this, and like any small market cap altcoin. Their market caps have been absolutely tanked over the last 2 years, so it won't take a lot of capital to move these coins. Anything outside the top 10, it will only take, like, not a lot at all. few million or something like that, and it'll probably fly. But yeah, looks higher low. Yeah, just wait it out. Take out this level here around 0.072, and then this level here 0.086, and then you're probably going to fly quite high quite quick, 18 cents after that. So easy 4x from here over the next few weeks if we see that kind of breadth open up. And I think a lot hinges on next week. I don't think we're going to get a rate cut, but I think if we see the dot plot that says it's like 50-50 chance of July or September, markets will price it in. We'll fly next week if there's any suggestion that there's a rate cut coming in July or September, because the markets price things in months in advance. So even if they say there's absolutely no chance of a rate cut in July, but we'll probably cut in September, that's going to be bullish for markets. So we don't really need confirmed July cut. Let's have a look at Cardano. Cardano, a bit of a weird one recently. It's especially on the daily. It pumps, then it dumps, then it pumps, then it dumps. The founder, Charles Hodgkinson or whatever he's called, seems to be everywhere talking about Bitcoin these days as well, which don't know how I feel about that. If I held Cardano, it would probably not be the best signal. Yeah, I think it'll do well. I think there will be a place for all these kind of legacy coins, as we've called them before, because I think that's where the ETFs are going to be approved first. So Cardano, Stellar Lumens, XRP, Solana, all these coins will have an ETF probably by the end of 2025. That's going to bring in a few billion buying pressure to all these coins. So yeah, I think the legacy coins, if we want to call them that, like Cardano and stuff, they will do well because institutions will want to invest in stuff with history. Institutions aren't going to buy, it's probably like a startup, like institutions and hedge funds don't typically buy companies that aren't in the public market. They aren't listed, they aren't IPO'd. It'll be the exact same for this, for crypto. Institutions will go after legacy coins that've got history, that they've proved that they're around for a while. Opulus isn't going to have an ETF. Cardano probably will. So that's the way you need to look at it. But it's going to be bullish for crypto, more money in crypto. And this is why I'm so bullish on stablecoins. It's not necessarily because I can make any money holding stablecoins. It's because stablecoins are an on-ramp. Once you create friction-free ways for people to go from fiat to stablecoins, you've basically made it easy for them to go from fiat to crypto. And that's all that crypto needs. It just needs that easy on and off ramp. And stablecoin legislation is going to make that possible. The fact that Circle IPO'd just tells me that the regulation is going to be super bullish. And then obviously the fact that the US government needs somebody to buy all their trash debt, which is currently, trading at 4.3%, they're going to have unlimited buyers because stablecoin issuers are going to have to hold this debt. So yeah, I think it all points to a really bullish summer. I think we just need to get through the next couple of weeks, maybe even a week, to be honest. I think by this time next Thursday we'll have at least some clarity on the Fed. Trump will have responded to whatever the Fed have done, and then it's just about letting liquidity flow. Every other central bank's cutting, the Fed's not, and eventually that becomes a bit of a problem for these other central banks because their currencies go weaken versus the dollar, which then makes imports really expensive. So I think there'll be a lot of pressure. G7's this weekend as well. So the G7 starts on Sunday. I would imagine countries will be wanting the US to cut rates to bring them in more in line with a kind of global currency cabal. All right, let's talk about Quintoshi. Quintoshi is our copy trading algorithm that we've been following for a while. Hopefully, majority of people listening are already following, but if you're not, I'll just run you through it. It's basically hands off. Somebody does the trades for you. It's an algorithm. It's a computer program. It's not some guy just sitting behind the screen all day. Sadly, they are a docs team. You can go and check out the interview we did with them. There's videos on Quintoshi as well, but ultimately they've developed an amazing strategy that, on the face of it, should generate around 10% per month returns. That's certainly, I think, it's beat that every month we've been doing it. It has different strategies. So it has a sideways trading strategy, and then it has a trend trading strategy. When it flips from when it's in sideways mode, it trades pullbacks. So if Bitcoin goes up 5%, pulls back 3%, it'll enter 3 or 4 trades. Then when we bounce, it makes you decent money. And it's proved very successful, especially start of this year when the markets have been terrible, chopping sideways. That's exactly what that algorithm was designed to do. So you can make money even when your altcoins are just sitting doing nothing. Yesterday, Quintoshi flipped to the trend strategy. The trend strategy is much more bullish, and they hold trades for a lot longer. That means that now is an amazing time if you start following Quintoshi, because the last time we went on a trend strategy, the bot made some absolute amazing gains, and we saw huge profits across the board, all because Bitcoin pulled back. Then it went into the bull trend, the strategy flipped, and everybody made really good money. So it's just flipped onto that strategy now. Obviously, Bitcoin is pulling back. If you saw Dex update, if you're in CC Pro, you can see that when we entered the last trend, Bitcoin actually dropped at first, but then it rallied from 93k all the way to 104k, and they add positions and leverage as the trend moves. So that means you make even more money. And the biggest thing is hands off, no effort needed, and everything's transparent. So if you want to go on BloFin, you need to use our link to sign up. But when you use our link to sign up, you search for Quintoshi CC Steady. You can see everything you want to see. You can see the trades that are open right now. We've got a couple of trades open right now. You can see we put 20k in our account. As you can see, it's got a 70% win rate. ROI 48% at the moment, but obviously we're about to flip super bullish, and annualized it's returning at the moment 153%, which is serious gains. The other thing, I think, just be careful, because I showed this to somebody. They texted me later that night saying, had a look at it, what about these other ones? There's a lot of scams in copy trading. We love Quintoshi because, one, we can talk to the team, we can give you updates, but also you can see the trade history. So you can literally see every single trade they've taken. You can go back, you can see the losses, you can see everything. Most, and Dex done a video on this, I think I've done a video on it as well, but most copy traders, they just create new profiles, or they hide their trades, they hide their losses. There's loads of scams with copy trading. So we've tried and tested Quintoshi. They've got an amazing track record, and we know the team, so we trust them. And yeah, if you're not following, sign up using the link that's in the description for this stream, and then you can start following us. Just search for Quintoshi CC Steady. Be interested to see what happens tomorrow into the weekend for Bitcoin. For me, I'd quite like to see us kind of get out of this quicker rather than a slow chop sideways, but I think that might actually be the case. I think for the next 6 days till the FOMC on Wednesday, we're probably just going to have up days, down days, just chop sideways. Probably no new all-time high until we get some news for the FOMC. I can't see a new all-time high happening this weekend unless something dramatic falls out the sky, something like a Trump announcement or, you know, a Fed announcement. There's rumours that they've already lined up Powell's replacement. Anything like that could spark some rallies, but typically these announcements are timed. I just can't see it happening before FOMC. I think the more bearish price action going into FOMC should actually put more pressure on the Fed to cut. But like I say, I think July's our best bet at the moment, and it's just a waiting game. Uniswap went on that mad rally a few days ago, up 27% in a day. It came back, but retraced right back to this wick high. So I'm interested to see if it can hold that. If it can, then the next leg for Uniswap will be up to about here, about 10.21, which for anyone that's seen my Quintoshi BloFin tutorial video, I actually entered on that stream or on that video live. I entered along here down at 482 and made decent gains. Obviously it went up 57%, but I had a trailing stop loss and it was obviously too tight. So when we got this pullback, it actually stopped me out, which was pretty gutting, to be fair, because I literally had timed it double bottom. It seemed like the market wasn't going to drop, and if I'd held on to it, I'd be up 60% right now, and that's down from the 80%. I think I'm very bullish on Uniswap, and I think it'll do really well over the next few months. That's all for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, if you've not listened to this week's podcast, the CC Pro podcast, check it out. And I'll be back with much more, some videos, some podcasts, and more live streams in the coming weeks. Thanks very much. Catch you all very soon.